Pirkei Avos, Perek Aleph, Mishna Hey. Ethics of Our Fathers, Chapter 1, Mishna 5, which can be found in the most recent edition of the Authorized Daily Prayer Book, the Green Siddur as it's known, on page 524. The Mishnah says as follows: Odze ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim, Odze ben Yochanan of Jerusalem. And as I mentioned in our discussion on the previous Mishnah, that Odze ben Yochanan was one of a pair. It was a new system that was set up as leaders of the Jewish people. There were two people that would lead, and he was the head of the Bet Din. And he taught as follows. Omer, he says, Yehi beischa pasuach lirvacha, let your house be wide open. Unusual term. What do you mean wide open? It doesn't only mean in a physical sense, it means conceptually. So when a house is wide open, meaning as opposed to it being narrow and a person has to squeeze through, but rather wide open, a person feels comfortable to be able to go in and be there, and so that anybody who's hungry and thirsty, talking about welcoming guests, be able to enter in without it being a difficulty at all. So it means also in a physical sense, let it be easy for them to be able to come and find relief there. And then, of course, not only should it be physically that way, but how do you treat them when they come? The next thing he says is Veyiyu aniyim b'nei veischa. Interesting term that says, let the needy, let the poor people, be members of your household. He uses the term members of your household to indicate that the way that you treat them, the way you interact with them, the way you speak to them should be in such a way that it makes them feel as if they're one of your household, as if they're one of your children, one of your family. They feel so comfortable there that that's the way they feel, part of your household, members of your family. And then he goes on to teach al tarbe sicha im ha'isha, that one should not engage in too much tarbe, too much idle talk with a woman. Be'ishtoi amro, they said this of a man's wife. Kal v'chomer be'eshes chaveroi. So how much more so of one's fellow wife, that he should refrain from idle talk with her. And the Meiri here explains that the Mishnah uses, or Odze ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim uses the term sicha, which is idle talk, to emphasize that a person is not to refrain from speaking to his wife, particularly as we're talking about his wife. His fellow's wife is a different story. And of course, the reason behind this, the reason why Odze ben Yochanan is mentioning this, is because he's saying that you'll ultimately slide into transgression. Too much idle talk will lead a person to transgression. So he's cautioning to be careful about this. And as I said, the Meiri explains that the conversation here is referring to a conversation that yields no benefit. If there's a purpose, if there's a significance and a purpose to the conversation and the idle talk, then that's not what he's talking about here. But here is where it's no purpose whatsoever, but just engaging the person in idle talk. That is what he is cautioning against. And he continues to say, the Mishnah continues to say, Mikan Omra, from here the rabbis learned, the rabbi said, that Kol Man She'adam Mar B'sicha Im Ha'isha, Kol Amar B'sicha Im Ha'isha, that whoever engages in too much idle talk with a woman, then, quite scaringly, Goyrem Ra La'atzmai, he will, number one, he will bring evil upon himself because he's crowding his thoughts with nonsense. And not only that, Vaitel Medivrei Seira, he also, in his heart, he neglects Torah study because his heart here is drawn to irrelevant matters at the expense of Torah study. He's not studying Torah. V'soifoi Yeresh Gehenim, and ultimately will inherit Gehenim, because as we explained, he will ultimately stumble into sin, and that is what he's warning against, trying to caution people to ensure we don't do that, and we look after ourselves in every single way.